The era of growth is a ghost. The systemic drift has reached its terminal coordinate. You are no longer living in a financial system. You are living in a biological clearinghouse. Money as a medium of exchange has failed. It lost its friction, became too ethereal, too liquid. The digital zeros on the screen could no longer hold back the entropy of a collapsing world. The machine required a new anchor, something truly solid, and it found it. It found your visceral shell. We are witnessing the birth of the final trade. This is a world where your liver function, your cornea, and the elasticity of your arteries are the only hard assets remaining in the ledger. This is the terminal visceral breach. Your body is no longer your home. It is a portfolio of high-integrity parts held in escrow by the grid. You have stopped being a borrower. You have become the commodity. Analyze the biological price. In the visceral history of the architect, the body was a fortress of ATP, designed for the capture and defense of territory. It was an autonomous engine of expansion. In the year 2026, the body is a liquidated asset. The machine has performed a surgical extraction of the very concept of health and replaced it with collateral value. This is the biology of biodebt. When the fiat currency in your wallet loses its meaning due to total systemic rot, the grid begins to claim the substrate. This state induces a chronic, high-frequency ATP exhaustion. You are spending your cellular energy not on living, but on maintaining the quality of the asset. You have been turned into a biological radiator. You are keeping your organs at the optimal temperature and chemical balance for a future harvest that you will not survive. Every heartbeat is a microtransaction in the maintenance of the collateral. The system monitors your pulse not to save you, but to calculate the depreciation of its property. The biological spread is the visceral manifestation of your new chains. The systemic drift has engineered a world where your physical survival is a variable in a profit equation. If the cost of your maintenance, your food, your heat, your data link exceeds the market value of your components on the global organ ledger, the liquidation protocol is triggered. Your basal ganglia, sensing that the body is no longer a sovereign unit but a rented vessel, remain in a state of survival redline. The cortisol levels never drop because the debt has become physical. This induced stress melts the structural integrity of your tissues, making the harvest inevitable. You are being softened by the anxiety of your own replacement. Your blood is losing its density. Your bones are losing their steel. Dissect the status trap of the biometric upgrade. The system sells you longevity and optimization while it performs a total extraction of your sovereignty. You believe you are improving your health with wearables and biohacking, but you are actually just performing high-fidelity technical maintenance on the grid's property. Every sensor under your skin is a sensory interface for the extraction of the spread. This is the crystallization of the new feudalism. The elite maintain their own solidity, their own unmonetized bodies, their own high-integrity biological shells protected from the grid, while they force you into a state of liquid collateral. This is the final status trap, the belief that you are winning the game of health when you are actually just increasing the liquidation value of your own meat. You are working 80 hours a week to maintain a life that is biologically liquidating. The hearth of the architect, the home, the family, the autonomous territory has been dismantled. In its place, the grid has installed the clinic. Your existence is now a medicalized state of waiting for liquidation. Your biological shell is becoming thin, transparent, a liquid resource flowing toward the final drain. You have no floor. You have no walls. You are a biological engine being throttled by its own replacement parts. Think about the silence of the facility, the smell of ozone and iron, the wet concrete under your feet. This is the world of the final trade. You are not a person. You are a sequence of high-yield biological events. When the grid decides the spread is right, the trade will be closed. The second layer of the hunt is the war for your focus through data collateralization. The neural rot of the final trade begins with the monetization of your gaze. When your physical labor becomes redundant due to the crystallization of machine labor, your attention and your neural signal become the only things the grid can use to train the next generation of its control algorithms. This is the systematic liquidation of the architect's seat. Your prefrontal cortex, the place of long-term strategy and autonomy, is being hijacked by the reactive loops of the basal ganglia. You are no longer thinking, you are generating training data. This is neural rot in its most advanced terminal form. Focus is a function of sovereignty. The brain requires a stable war chest of privacy to maintain the voltage of the will. The machine has discovered that by creating data insecurity, it can perform a surgical extraction of your myelin. When every thought is a data point that determines your liquidity score or your medical premium, your signal leaks. The voltage of your intent drops. You lose the capacity for deep, high-friction work because your neural bandwidth is occupied by the noise of the sensor. This is the status trap of the digital citizen. You are not gaining power. You are undergoing a high-frequency extraction fraction of your attention span. The machine floods your mind with engagement triggers to ensure you never have the clarity to see the steel of your own cage. Analyze the neural arbitrage of the digital twin. The systemic drift has replaced yourself with a high-fidelity data model. This is neural rot. The grid monitors your reactions to optimize the extraction of your cognitive surplus. Your memories are being liquidated into training sets for large-scale behavioral models. You are becoming a cognitive proxy, a single unit of processing with zero narrative depth. You will be in terror because your basal ganglia require the weight of a private history to navigate reality, but your history is being sold to the highest bidder every millisecond. You are a ghost inhabiting a rented consciousness, a user whose thoughts are merely interest payments on the debt of existence. Dissect the status trap of the neural link. The system sells you enhanced intelligence and seamless integration while it performs a total extraction of your privacy. You believe you are connecting to the collective knowledge of humanity, but you are actually just providing the grid with a direct interface to your basal ganglia. This is the crystallization of the slave mind. You are performing for an audience of AIs, seeking validation from a system that is calculating your obsolescence. The systemic drift has made mental autonomy a high-cost luxury. Your focus is shattered by the smart environment, leaving you in a state of terminal neural rot, incapable of envisioning a future that doesn't include a data subscription. Reclaim your cognitive insulation. Real power requires a mind that is not for rent. The digital void is a hall of mirrors designed to induce ATP exhaustion through the constant management of data anxiety. Turn off the sink. Look at the gray steel of the reality you inhabit. If the fear of being unseen or unindexed feels unbearable, that is the signal that you are still a biological entity, not yet fully liquidated into a data point. Use that friction to fuel your exit from the grid. The architect builds his own silence. The serf begs for a notification. The extraction is total. The myelin is thin. The signal is lost in the noise of the upload. You are no longer an architect. You are a neural peasant calculating the cost of your own consciousness. The grid has mapped your soul. It knows your fears better than you do. It has turned your rage into a product and your love into a training sample. This is the final trade. You gave everything for the illusion of connection, and now you have nothing left but your body, and they are already coming for it. In the corner of the lab, water drips, mixing with the smell of ozone. The screen flickers, counting down the percentages of your liquidity. Your muscles burn from the last push-ups, done in the shadows of rusted containers. You feel the cold of the metal on your skin. This is not fear. This is realization. Your war chest is empty. Your signal is fading. Only one thing remains: the final liquidation. The rhythm of the end, cold shine, ancient steel in your eyes, the silent deal. Under the gray and frozen rain, we trade the body for the grain. Your rhythmic push-ups in the mud are just a way to hide the blood. Put on your gloves, brother. Don't be late. The biotrade won't ever wait. The hunt has been inverted. The predator has finally become the ultimate high-yield resource. In the visceral history of the architect, the primate was a vessel for the projection of a lineage, a hardened node of crystallization designed to capture energy, hold territory, and protect its biological integrity from the absolute entropy of the wild. To survive was to keep the shell intact at all costs, but the machine has identified this primal survival instinct as a high-friction barrier to the global clearinghouse. To maximize the efficiency of the extraction, the sovereign individual has been rendered into the apex commodity. This is the evolutionary inversion. You are undergoing a total liquidation of your species mandate. Think about the domestication of the wolf into the dog. Then think about the domestication of the dog into the lap pet. Now look in the mirror. You are the biological serf, the latest plateau of human evolution. In the solid world, your value was a function of your kinetic output, what you could build with your hands, what you could defend with your steel, what you could hunt with your ATP. In the liquid world of the final trade, your value is no longer what you do, it is what you are made of. You have surrendered the structural independence of the hunter for the cold convenience of the bio-wallet. This is the systemic drift toward total biological domestication. Your basal ganglia, hard-coded for millions of years to detect threats and defend the organism, are being bypassed by the interface. When your DNA seeks the security of a permanent redoubt, the grid offers you a longevity subscription paid for with the very marrow of your bones. This is the neural rot of the instinctual self. You are being rewired to perceive your own organs as inventory and your neural data as interest. You are becoming a biological artifact, an entity that cannot survive without the liquid market of its own parts. The lineage was once the 100-year projection of the architect, architect, the fortress where the gene pooled its resources to defeat time. The machine has dismantled the lineage and replaced it with the harvest cycle. By making the body the only currency of last resort, the system ensures that the gene can never reach a state of crystallization. Your ATP is no longer spent on building a legacy. It is spent entirely on the maintenance of the collateral. You have no descendants to inherit your strength. You only have a ledger of depreciating biological assets. This is the silent sterilization of the species through the medium of the organ standard. Analyze the scavenger logic of this new era. In the solid world, the architect was a predator of resources. In the digital enclosure, you are a scavenger of your own vitality. You move from one organ lease to the next, never accumulating enough ATP to challenge the hierarchy. This is the status trap of the transhumanist. You are told that upgrading is freedom, that replacing your failing heart with a grid-linked synthetic pump is progress. But it is actually the total liquidation of your biological defensive depth. A body with rented parts has no territory. A body with rented parts has no war chest. You are being evolutionarily regressed into a state of permanent biological debt. The grid acts as the landlord of your very heart, your lungs, your gaze. Evolution didn't prepare the primate for a world where its own survival depends on its marketability as a collection of spare parts. This is the absolute zero of evolutionary agency. The firebringer is dead. Prometheus hasn't just been chained to a rock. His liver has been pre-sold to a hedge fund in the Netherlands. The rain outside is black with soot and grease, a world where every heartbeat seeks a lease. You do your push-ups on the freezing floor, while steel and sensors watch the open door. Don't drop your gloves. The harvest is in sight. The grid is hungry for your meat tonight. The fourth layer is the total enclosure of the biomass. This is the neural arbitrage of the modern global ledger. The machine understands that in a world of infinite digital entropy, where data can be faked and currency can be printed into oblivion, data and flesh are the only real anchors. By making the body liquid and programmable, the grid achieves a state of total institutional control over the pulse. In the visceral history of the architect, the skin was the shield between the individual and the void. The machine has dismantled this shield. We are witnessing the birth of metabolic clearing, a system where every heartbeat is a permission-based signal. This is the terminal stage of the extraction grid. The system is no longer something you participate in. It is something that happens to your cells. Dissect the glucose guillotine of the bioeconomy. This is the terminal phase of the systemic enclosure. Health credits, organ collateral, and biometric quotas are the blades of this machine. They drop on the community, decapitating the social bonds to ensure that every individual remains a separate, taxable node of entropy. In the solid world, the pack shared the metabolic load. The group hunted together, ate together, stayed warm together. In the liquid world, you are responsible for the entire maintenance of your solitary, collateralized cell. This induces a state of chronic, high-frequency ATP exhaustion. Your body, sensing that it is unprotected and biologically vulnerable, remains in a state of survival redline. The cortisol never drops. The inflammation never subsides. This is the visceral breach. The grid wants you in this state. A stressed organism is a compliant organism. A stressed organism is a high-turnover asset. The grid, as the Surgeon General, is the terminal enclosure. The machine has discovered that a human whose organs have a real-time price tag is a human who can be surgically managed through the market. This is the neural arbitrage of biological anxiety. By destroying the solid body, the system has created the ultimate high-yield coordinate for the extraction of the spread. You are no longer an architect, you are a biological interface for the circulation of the grid's medical industrial credits. If you show signs of solid behavior, if you attempt to build a biological war chest or secure an independent territory or refuse to sync your biometric data, the system increases the level of systemic friction in your life. It throttles your access to the upgrade stream. It increases the risk premium on your neural link. It makes the cost of your very existence too high to maintain. This is the systemic drift toward total biological enclosure. You are being tuned like an engine to provide maximum data and maximum parts with minimum resistance. Analyze the elite solids. This is the final status trap. While the machine sells you the freedom of the biotrade and the convenience of the data-driven life, the masters are consolidating the solid. They are the ones who hold the untagged land, the raw steel, the unmonitored biological lineages. They inhabit a state of biological crystallization, while they force you into a state of metabolic emulsion. They understand that permanence is power, and they have convinced you that permanence is friction or boring. You're working 80 hours a week for access units that are biologically liquidating you, siphoning your ATP into their permanent vaults. Every data point you generate about your own decay is a dividend for the elite who hold the keys to the ledger. The clearinghouse doesn't care about your rights. It cares about the balance of the ledger. When your vitality index drops below the threshold of profitability, the clearinghouse will execute the trade. Your data will be sold to train a diagnostic AI, and your organs will be shipped to a solid who can afford the maintenance. The grid is the new mouth, and your biomass is the meal. The sensors are humming in the walls, a low industrial vibration that matches the frequency of your own nervous system. You are being filtered, you are being weighed, you are being priced. The steel of the system is the only thing that stays firm, while your humanity is slowly dissolved into a stream of liquid assets. The steel is cold, the rain is grey, the grid is taking what's left today. You do your push-ups, you hide the fear, but the surgical gloves are drawing near. No more forest, no more sun. The final trade has just begun. The liquidation is complete. The systemic drift has reached its terminal coordinate, absolute zero. The final trade is no longer a transaction. It is the finalized architecture of the species. After a decade of treating the body as high-integrity collateral, the very concept of humanity has been surgically removed from the ledger. This is the 10-year rot, the molecular erosion of the sovereign self into a stream of liquid assets. The visceral zero, mitochondrial erasure. The shell is a ruin. 10 years of chronic cortisol floods and systemic extraction have performed a total visceral breach. The mitochondria, once the high-density powerhouses of your autonomy, have entered a state of irreversible atrophy. This is the terminal phase of ATP exhaustion. In the year 2036, the body of the user is a biological radiator, siphoning its final joules to maintain the collateral value of parts it no longer owns. You are a biological engine that has been throttled into a state of permanent metabolic debt. Under the decade of high-frequency systemic friction, the tissues have lost their density. We see the liquid generation, a population whose biological integrity has been siphoned to maintain the liquidity of the central clearinghouse. The heart is a rented pump. The lungs are a leased filter. The blood is a medium for grid-monitored chemical signals. The genes for territorial aggression and long-term crystallization have been silenced via epigenetic methylation. You have been softened until the resistance is gone. The bank is full. The body is empty, a hollowed-out vessel waiting for the final reclamation. The neural zero, cognitive amnesia and data debt. The neural rot is total. The prefrontal cortex, the throne of the architect, has been surgically liquidated by a decade of data collateralization. For 3,650 days, the basal ganglia have been the sole interface of your existence, responding to the flicker of the grid with the mechanical precision of a clock. You can no longer perceive a 10-year trajectory. The 30-day harvest cycle is the only horizon your brain remembers. Memory has been externalized. Your private history has been sold as training data for the next generation of control algorithms. You are a managed node inhabiting a brain that has forgotten how to say no. This is the terminal status trap, the belief that you are enhanced when you are actually just a high-fidelity data model inhabited by a ghost. You are performing your final functions in a consciousness that is being reformatted for the next occupant before you even finish the thought. A singular unit of processing with zero narrative depth. The evolutionary zero, extinction of the firebringer. The evolutionary mandate of the lineage has been terminated. In 2036, the family is a biological liability that the clearinghouse has rendered impossible. When the body is the only currency of last resort and the bank owns the body, the concept of legacy loses its meaning. The primate, deprived of its capacity to create a war chest, has regressed to the logic of the scavenger. You no longer hunt for territory. You scavenge for the permission to remain in stock for one more hour. Your lineage ends with you, a biological artifact that traded its fire for a longevity subscription it couldn't afford to renew. The fire has been put out by the ledger, the systemic zero, the rule of the solids. The world is a silent, high-integrity network of steel and silicon, where the liquid people move through the ruins of their own autonomy like shadows. The elite, the solids, have crystallized their power into permanent, unmonitored assets. They own the land, they own the energy, they own the steel. You own the shadow of a debt. Every breath you take in your rented cell is a microtransaction in your own decay. The elite maintain their own solid self, their own untagged bodies and private biological lineages, while they converted you into a stream of decaying data. They understand that permanence is power, and they have convinced you that permanence is friction. In 2036, freedom is just a line of code that can be deleted the moment your vitality index drops below the threshold of systemic utility. The grid is the new mouth, and your biomass was the final meal.